on yet.
It says live.
Hello!
Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to our weekly American Duchess live cast. We're live right now, and I'm Abby.
And I'm Lauren.
And we've just gotten back from China, and we decided to cover ourselves in our fabric purchases for this one. Because we're used to it being very warm in China, and we got back, and it's fall now. So it's great. But also because we're just kind of reveling in our fabric purchases.
It's beautiful.
And we have really severe jet lag.
Okay, you guys.
We're live right now. And we'll be live for probably the next 30 minutes or so. It's 2 p.m.-ish our time in Reno, Nevada. And so that means it's around 5 p.m. Eastern time. And afterwards, this will go into stagnant video. And we won't be able to answer your questions live, but we'll be able to comment and respond to your questions after the fact. But if you do have any questions about what we're going to talk about today, which is about our trip to China, we encourage you to leave comments below, just boop, 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 right there, and we'll do our best to answer them as they come up. We have already done a live cast for our sister company, Royal Vintage, where we talked about traffic and squatty potties and some more fabric purchases and cheap house. And shopping for shoe materials in Hojie Town, which is basically the shoemaking capital of the world. But we thought for American Duchess, we would like to actually talk about our visits to the factory.
Yes.
And that experience while we sit here swabbed in all of our fabric purchases.
I'm getting hot, so.
Also
Abby's
we do have,
cold, so.
I do. We also have some extra special guests with us in fact, and they are the bags underneath of our eyes from our severe jet lag. So we want to give a special shout out to Concealer right now.
Yes.
For being there for us
Thanks,
in our time of
Urban Decay.
need, and Starbucks.
Okay, you guys. So, Abby and I have been in China for a week. We got back Wednesday. We slept most of yesterday, and we're barely alive to talk to you today. We went to China on business. We did also have a lot of fun while we were there and ate a lot of weird things.
Yeah.
But primarily we went there to visit our suppliers and see our factories and make sure everything was running A-okay and meet the people that make our shoes and let them meet us. Mm-hmm. It's very good for the relationship, as to give FaceTime, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we flew across the world.
Lots of tea.
30 hours at a time to drink tea with the factory owner and meet the people. Yeah. So if you have questions, hard questions, you go right ahead, put them in the comment box. We are going to talk about...
Unless they're math questions, we don't do that.
We're going to talk about our factories. And we're going to try and dispel some myths and some propaganda that you may have heard about manufacturing footwear in China. Okay.
No, I'm I can't take my layers off.
Just get a bit hot. You're so hot. So we are currently manufacturing American Duchess shoes and Royal Vintage shoes in 2 small footwear workshops, and we are calling them workshops because that's what they are.
They really are. They're not factories.
No, when you say factory, you think of a big space that's got a ton of people in it. Each one of them doing one little thing.
Industrial, a lot of equipment, a lot of loud noise. Mm-hmm.
But what our workshops actually are
workshops.
They're like a single room. They have maybe 1 or 2 industrial sewing machines. They have some footwear equipment specific to the footwear trade. So a lasting machine,
a sanding
ovens, sanding wheels that you would that shoe repair shops have as well for buffing and sanding. Of a station, one guy gluing things, and a team of people that kind of move around. I've got silk all over me now.
It's shedding.
Kind of move around the workshop doing different things. So some of it is more skilled than others. For instance, there's one guy that cuts the leather. He cuts every single piece one at a time. So it's not like where you stack up all the material and then you have like a laser cutting or a stamp cutter.
No,
it's a guy with an X-Acto knife. And the pattern.
You actually took a video
out. I did, and we'll put it up here, the video.
Yeah, we took a bunch of pictures, and we had a bunch of pictures taken of us by our hosts. And so we've put them on our private Facebook accounts. So some of you all who are private Facebook friends with us have probably already seen them, but we'll post them on our official pages too.
Yeah, so you guys can see what we saw.
Just for warning, if you have a queasy food stomach, some of the pictures might be a little graphic.
There's a lot of pictures of us
We ate
eating
some pretty cool stuff.
various foods, but also pictures of us working and discussing and having meetings at our factories. So there's 2 factories. One of them was bigger than the other. One of them was a little bit more advanced with the machinery than the other one. But everyone in them, and this is the most important thing, guys, there are no children working in our factories at least, in China. Okay?
Because they're not factories.
There's no children anywhere near the factories in China. It's women and men, so middle-aged women and men. Adults making shoes. There were about maximum maybe 15 people there.
Well, we were there during the Moon Festival, the Lunar Festival, and so a lot of people were actually had a few days off. And so, from what I understood with the conversation, what our hosts were telling us is that some people weren't even there. So it was a more bare bones operation because people were on vacation. People went home. Because you explained to me that, this work environment, it's people, because China's huge, guys. China is ridiculously huge. Not only is the landmass huge, but there's just so many people. It's ridiculous. We were in a city of millions and millions of people. Hojie Town, which is where the shoes are made, it's a town of 10 million? 10 million people, guys. 10 million. That's a town. A town. It's not even a city. So what happens is people come in from the provinces and from the countryside, and they work in these workshops and they work in this industry and they make really good money and they're able to send a lot of money home. And then when they have chunks of time off, because China actually has a lot of holidays,
long holidays,
like New Year's is a month long or something like that. They go home. So it's a different work environment, but it's not anything intense or weird.
And so the people that were working in there were choosing to work on their holiday,
and they probably were making extra money doing it.
And they probably knew that we were coming and wanted to be there to
look at the Americans,
meet the people who meet us, and we wanted to meet them. So again, to stress, there's no children in our factories. But that actually brings up kind of a little sticky point. Is we heard a lot of the same thing this trip specifically in China about Hojie Town, where it used to be, that's where Nike and Adidas and all the really big shoe companies had their factories, but they've since pulled out of Hojie and they've gone to Vietnam and Cambodia because it's cheaper and because the laws are not as strict about labor. China doesn't support child labor. I cannot say that enough. China doesn't support child labor, but Adidas and Nike were
got expensive.
It got expensive to pay people decent living wages to make good quality footwear. So Hojie is really turning more towards higher end, nicer quality footwear, and this is where we are making our shoes, and we're going to stay there making our shoes because we have good quality, we have good people that we're working with. We're happy with them. It's good logistics and moving stuff around. We get things on time. We're very, very happy with what we saw in our factories in China.
Yeah, it was really cool, actually. And coming from a trades background, coming from Colonial Williamsburg and going into these workshops, it was so familiar. It was just modern, and people were in modern clothes, and people had their cell phones out, and people were working,
laughing and smiling,
having a good time. It's just like what you see. It's so hands-on. There are people really handling our shoes. In fact, that was a big conversation about our heels and stretching and molding the leather of our shaped heels to fit it. Those are done by hand. There's no machine doing that. That's literally someone there with their thumbs stretching and molding that leather around their shoe. And they gave us shit about it.
These are really
what is this?
Okay, we're back. Sorry.
And so that was really, really cool to see because, we have this vision where things are so industrialized and everything's machine and everything's robots.
That robots are making.
And, because we see these videos of technology-based factories manufacturing for Apple and things like that. And when it comes to the shoes, especially our shoes, it's not that way at all. And it was really cool to see because they were working on samples for a very high-end designer. Very high-end designer in the same factory that we were at that makes our shoes. And so that was really cool to see. So it even helped me as a shoe consumer, as an avid shoe consumer, because it gave a lot more perspective with what is actually going on when it comes to the shoe industry. And sometimes you go, oh, shoes are expensive. But you're actually, when you're paying for expensive shoes with good quality materials, you're actually paying for handwork.
Yeah, most of the cost that we pay to the factory per shoe, per pair, is labor. Mm-hmm. So you might hear incorrect information about, like, oh, you know, you're paying for the materials, but the people don't make any money at all. No, like 90% of the cost that we pay to our factory is for the labor, because these people are skilled people. Mm-hmm. Footwear it's like an apprenticeship. It's a lifelong skill. You don't just pop out of the womb making shoes. Yeah. Otherwise, we just all do it for ourselves. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. You have to be trained.
It's harder than making clothes, guys.
It's very, very complex. There's a lot of engineering. There's a lot of components that go into this. So we have some comments. It's really obvious that your shoes are well made, but it's nice to hear anyway. Yeah. Thank you, Kate. Kelly says, oh my God, my Duchess shoes were 100% worth the price tag. Thank you so much. And a note on that, because we are direct from the factory to you, we cut out all of that wholesale middleman. So our footwear, even though it should be priced probably a lot higher by retail standards, you know, we don't want to gouge you, so we cut that out so that we can keep the price good for you. But it also means that we get on planes and go to China and check this stuff out every couple of years.
And exhausting.
Fun and exhausting.
Like I'm wearing like this weird like Hawaiian
you
shirt.
You kind of look like you're wearing like maybe a little Japanese like something or other. But so again, you guys, if you have questions about our factories, we're here to answer them. This is stuff that we're going to give you straight answers. Mm-hmm. We're transparent about our manufacturing. We believe in an ethical manufacturing and that is possible and expected in China. Mm-hmm. Now,
well, I was going to say, because like when we were getting ready to go, you like sat down and I think we were in the car driving, which that's a whole different conversation. That was our RV conversation. We were like, went on a tangent about
driving in China. We didn't drive, we rode around, but it was terrifying.
White knuckled it the whole time.
Check our RV page.
But you were like, are you okay? Like, and you asked me about my expectations and you asked me, you know, how am I feeling? What am I expecting? And for me, I've been going through a personal transformation. I've been trying really hard to release the idea of expectations and just kind of be open to whatever I see, whatever I experience, because, you know, and I've been very fortunate in my adult life that I've been able to do a lot of traveling. I haven't been to Asia, you know, but I've spent a lot of time in Europe and I've been to other countries that, you know, are of various economic development. And so I was just like, I'm here. I'm going to experience this and I'm going to be open to everything. But you were like, you know, what are you expecting? Are you okay? Are you nervous? How are you feeling? I was like, oh no, you know, I'm cool. Like, whatever. I'm just going to go see it. And we walked into the first factory and the factory's one was a little bit smaller, a little bit older, but it was still a really nice factory, workshop.
Big
like
windows,
I walked in, big windows, all the doors and windows were open because they don't have air conditioning in China. And that's not just because it's a workshop, that's just because they don't have air conditioning in China.
The nicest restaurants in Shenzhen don't do air conditioning.
Like you're very lucky if you get air conditioning. It's just their way.
I mean, you could call that a sweatshop, but like everywhere then would be sweaty. Like it's just hot there by our standards. It's hot.
It's very hot. It's very humid. And so, but they had all the doors and windows open, so there was a nice cross breeze. It was very airy. There was a lot of natural light. High ceilings, a lot of natural light. It was actually really nice. Like I told Lauren, even the first one, which wasn't the nice one, I was like, oh no, I could sit here and do some work. Like it's just a
big
workshop.
Work tables.
It looks just like a sort of costume shop or workshop that you could think of here.
The reason I said this to Abby though is because so many people are disconnected from manufacturing that we have no concept whatsoever of what a factory, whether it's clothing factory, technology, footwear, actually looks like. A factory here in LA might actually be a lot darker and dingier than a factory in China. A factory in Spain or in Italy making footwear may not be any nicer than a factory in China. The thing is there's machinery everywhere, and there's ovens for footwear, and there's last presses, and they're set up in a way that is efficient for a production line. But it's not big, it's not dirty, there's not like dead cats on the in the corner, there's no children anywhere. I mean, it's not like fires are going on, you're gonna burn yourself. It's just not what you might think or what you might be told. And we know this because we went there and we saw it for ourselves,
Yeah, and
which is very, very important to
We
us.
have a few pictures of the factories. We didn't. We spent more time in the offices talking to our the main managers and owners of the factories. And
Business
also,
meetings.
since this is like one big room, you're like, okay.
You can see everything.
You can see everything all at once. So there wasn't like a real need to like do an in-depth tour, but we definitely spent time in the factories. At least you were better about taking video and pictures than I was. I was so busy being like,
How shoes actually get made.
like,
Yeah.
I was so busy watching the process, being that creeper standing over everyone's shoulder, being like, "So what are you doing over here?" But not because I don't speak Mandarin. You know,
then nobody was like,
no.
What are you
And,
doing
they were just
here?
chilling.
Yeah.
And they're all just chilling. Like, if you know, the one factory we were going at, they were packing the boxes for a shoe company, and so like they're all just like standing around like chatting,
Putting shoes
in
in
boxes.
boxes.
So I was like, that actually seems kind of
yeah,
nice.
we kind of do a lot of that here too.
Yeah, I was actually just doing that.
So again, you guys, if you have questions about our factories, we're here to share our experiences and to tell you directly where our footwear is made and why. But we're also going to share some other things that we did in China, some of the fun things. So the first couple of days we talked business with our suppliers and we visited our factories. But then the next few
we
days...
should say how the patent.
Oh, right. How did that go? They're going to try.
They're gonna try.
This is about our patents. The last video that we did 2 weeks ago, we talked about the 18th century patent that we acquired, and then we took it with us and handed it over to our factor, who took it along with a very, very detailed spec sheet, and they're going to attempt to make them. So we haven't heard anything back about that, but they're going to give it their all.
They thought it was weird, but then we saw some weird stuff, like weird shoes in China for sale. We were like, this isn't any weirder than what we were trying to get you guys.
They just have to figure out how it's made without ripping apart that antique. So some of the other things we did when we opened this video today, we were draped in silk because we went silk shopping. Silk and natural materials, silk, linen, cotton. We bought some beautiful fabrics.
Since Shenzhen is like the industrial capital of the world, you know, we have Hojietown, which is making shoes, and then we drove through a place that was like the sunglasses capital, where all the sunglasses in the world
And like
are made.
the jewelry,
And like
where they
jewelry,
made all the jewelry components.
and all of those sorts of things. So there was a huge shopping center in downtown Shenzhen that was just really nice high-end fabrics, and we had some fun. We saw fabrics we'd never seen before.
Right, that's true. Some really beautiful, interesting stuff. And then a lot of the clothing in the malls, in the more traditional Asian or Asian-influenced fashion, high-end fashion, was made out of these really interesting finished silks and cottons and linens and all kinds. So we didn't buy enough of everything, but we bought some things. So this is one of the fabrics I got.
Isn't this fabulous?
It is it's silk backed with cotton. It's kind of a thick fabric.
That's what I understood.
Beautiful imperial yellow, which is a very, very Chinese and very 18th century color. This is actually a royal color in China, with these brocaded cranes on it. And I'm going to make this into a winter coat, like a cheap Qing Dynasty Qipao style
Bedgown
winter
thing.
coat, because it's so beautiful. Oh my god, I love it.
And then I got a pink, from the same store. Let me see. This one just has trees on it. It's all wrapped around me. And then it's all like wrapped around me. But this one, it has the same amount of body as like the awesome like yellow imperial gold, but it's a nice pink with blues and things like that. So I don't know what I'm gonna make out of this yet, but I bought a bunch of it. And then we also got some really nice cottons, like this one that looks like a Hawaiian print. These are actually, it looks like rayon and it feels like rayon, but it's actually cotton.
It's very beautiful, beautiful prints.
We bought a lot from this store owner because he complimented us. He said we were pretty.
Yeah. Some other things we found were lots of really high grade linen. Again, we probably should have bought more of this, but this was one of the linens we found. It's a bit sheer, so Abby's prohibited me from making a shift out of this.
But it has a beautiful, do you guys see that weave structure there?
They can
So
see it,
I think you might be able to. You can definitely see me through it. But
it's lightweight, it's soft.
It's very soft, it's lightweight. It's not a super tight weave, but it is a tighter weave for this weight than I have seen personally here. And there was actually an even better one that we ended up not getting at the point in time because we were trying to haggle the price down lower, and he wasn't budging. And so we were like, okay, is it because we're American? Because there was a lot of that. We were getting a lot of like initial like very high, more retail in prices.
Yeah.
And then we would have to walk away, and they'd be like, no, come back. And then our hostess with the mostest, she would like haggle this thing down as low as she could for us. But the linen that got away.
Yeah, we didn't get an opportunity to go back and
Yeah.
get it, although we talked about
but
it.
some really great linens, and then we got a cotton silk blend?
Where? Oh,
What is that? Am I sitting on it? No, I don't know where it is. It's over there.
It's in a
somewhere.
bag, a little red bag that's tight. So yeah, it's over there. So lots of really beautiful fabrics, and of course we saw tons and tons of beautiful fabric, and now I'm just like, so buy more fabric.
Yeah.
So we're really looking forward to making cool things, and some of this
And we'll
stuff
blog about it.
was to be used in our book, especially that lightweight linen for accessories. Mika says, "Yep, it's because you're American. I always tell my friends to be careful." Yeah. So we went silk shopping. That was after we went to a place called Silk Park, which was a learning center on silk production in China, which was enormous.
Yeah.
And in Silk Park, which we talked a little bit about in our Royal
RV.
Vintage one, but we didn't talk about the silk embroideries.
Oh my god.
So they
oh
had
my god.
an art gallery.
It was crazy.
In the upper floors of Silk Park that were paintings, but they weren't paintings. They were embroideries done with silk filament, and they were some of the most stunning works of art, masterworks of art that we've ever.
I've
ever
never seen embroidery like this.
The finest.
Never seen
It was
embroidery like
glossy. It was just.
It was three-dimensional, guys. Like they were like
Incredible.
doing it on like I think it was the silk organza
That had
essentially,
been, like,
that had been
stretched.
pulled and stretched and very taut, and then they were doing this technique that made it look like brush strokes, and
Just-
then the way that they
wow.
would display them made them look three-dimensional, like because it was set away from, so it was on the sheer fabric, and then it was set away from a background, and so you'd have these shadows.
like there were koi fish
Oh my gosh.
embroidered in silk on silk that was set in front of the backing, so that when they were lit, the fish actually cast shadows.
It
It
was
looked
just-
so real. And then it was like, oh, what a nice painting. Oh my God, it's embroidery.
I took some pictures, some detailed shots.
It doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't do it justice because the lighting in the meeting was very dark, which I'm sure you all could understand. So yes, Elizabeth Hawkins, we did take pictures.
We did.
And we'll post them. It was just
Incredible.
I have no words for it.
Incredible.
Like I just was sitting there just going, ah!
We also
amazing.
went through a Qipao museum, which we talked a little bit about as well. So it was the history of Qipao from the Qing Dynasty, which is about 19th century, 18th, 19th century, all the way through to how it changed. The Qipao is the traditional Chinese dress that you're all very familiar with. Sometimes it's called Cheongsam. And how that changed and became modern Qipao. And at the end of that, of course, there were very, very expensive Qipaos that we could buy that we didn't buy.
They were custom made.
Yeah, they were custom made with stunning, stunning silk,
Yeah.
which is why I bought the yellow silk, because I want to make a Qing Dynasty Qipao for a winter cut. I think it would be really cool.
Yeah.
So some other cool experiences, the tea and the snake. So authentic experiences. When you go to Shenzhen as a Westerner, you might be ushered around to lots of touristy places like Splendid China, and you'll see like the shiny bright things. But we wanted some authentic experiences. We wanted to see how people actually like lived and existed in China. And going to Hojie Town is one way you can see that. But we also had some experiences where we visited this little street. It was like a little dead-end street that was just lined on both sides with tea shops. All they sold was bulk tea
And tea equipment.
and tea things.
Mostly just tea, though. I think there was only the shop really that we went into that sold tea equipment, and it's
Like tea
wholesale
bowls
stuff
and-
essentially,
Yeah, so great big bricks of tea and like barrels of tea.
wrapped in paper.
Amazing.
And, oh, so cool.
It was like stepping into the 19th or the 18th century and
Yeah.
seeing how, tea was sold. I'm sure it was sold pretty much the same way.
Well, geez, we actually have she took a video. There was a woman, an elderly woman, who was just sitting outside of her shop with this big tray of tea leaves, and she was hand picking
Hand rolling them
the tea leaves off the stem and then hand rolling them.
into
And
little balls. Yeah.
and you got a video of it, and the smell of that was just it's hard to put it into words. There are no words to describe what that was really like, but it was one of those moments where you just go, whoa.
Like, what is my life? Where am I right now?
What is my life?
Wow, this is so cool. And she was,
and you felt
her energy was like super cool.
Yeah,
as well.
I felt,
she was
I was very blessed. Like, that's like the one moment where I was like, I feel so blessed to be here right now, because this is something that 95% of people will never get to experience.
Yeah. It happening right in the middle of a huge metropolitan area as well. Like this very ancient thing that she was doing, and this ancient woman was doing it. But on that street, we went to a tea shop where I'm not entirely sure that the owner of that tea shop had ever seen Western women, because he was like, he wanted his picture with us.
Yeah.
He did this whole tea ceremony. What was the style?
Kung fu.
But not kung fu, but like gong fu. Style of serving tea
which was normal for us. That's how everyone served tea with us. So when we had our factory meetings, that's how tea was served to us. And so you had kind of gone through that before, but the way that they do this, the Chinese like serve tea, are on these tables, and some of them are just crazy elaborate. And the tables have drains in them, and they have like a hot pot attached to them, and like the water spigots is attached to them, and then there's like another little hot pot to boil your tea bowls in, so that way they're sanitized. And they clean the tea bowls with hot boiling water that has gone through the tea leaves instantly. So it's like, he said 5, 10, 15 seconds. So every time you go through the tea leaves, it's 5 seconds longer. But the first time, it's 5 seconds. And that's what they use to clean everything with. So I'm watching this dude, like, spill water, like, all over the table. Like,
yeah, it seemed really messy. I'm like, what?
Super messy.
Why is he pouring it everywhere?
The water disappeared. And I was like, well, that's curious. And so, like, Lauren's, like, having these meetings about shoes, and I'm, like, sitting there watching this guy, like, serve this tea, like, what is it that you're doing right now? But
it wasn't, like, a super formal ceremony. It was, like, this informal system of serving tea.
They all did it. And it was fascinating. So, yeah, when we went to the tea shop, he went through all of it, and he let me take a video of it. So we can share that as well, which is really cool. And I bought things.
We drank a lot of green tea. Have some tea.
Good tea.
Okay.
Green tea.
Well, I hate green tea, but sure.
You powered through. I was like, sure, sounds great. Sure, sounds great. Sure, sounds great.
But we did buy some tea tables, tea bowls, beautiful tea things, little statuettes. This is one of the cool little like things that we got. Okay, we're back. So we got this cool little frog. Frog monster thing. He's a money frog, so he's here in our office to help bring wealth, and sales and good fortune to us. And we're supposed to pour tea over him. So
we might spritz him with water.
Maybe put some green tea in a spritz bottle and like spray him every once in a while, because I'm certainly not going to be drinking any green tea on the tea table here.
No.
But yeah, so oh my god, money frog, great job.
She also asked, did random passerby try to take pictures with you, even as an Asian? They take pictures with me because of my height.
Not really, but I think
we
there
got
was a guy
a lot.
We got stared at, especially when we were wearing headscarves and red lipstick and winged eyeliner.
I stopped wearing red lipstick because I felt horrendously out of place. I went to wearing very light pink because I felt I felt like everyone was just like.
Yeah, when we were both wearing headscarves, they asked what country we were from
and what religion we were.
What religion we were, and of course we'd say no, we're just Maigorren, we're just American, and it's just fashion. And they'd be like, oh, and some women though knew. They're like, oh, they're so cute.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thank you. Yeah. But it was quite an experience, not a bad experience.
No, but the guy, we're pretty sure a guy at our hotel was taking pictures of us while we were eating breakfast.
Yeah, he was sort of like pretending to take a selfie, but pointing it in our direction.
So we made ugly faces.
Yeah, but the owner of the tea shop really wanted to take his picture with us, and I thought that was charming. So.
Oh, and there was the little schoolgirl who came in, and she looked at you, and she was like, hello, and you were like, English? And she was like, no. And then she like came up and stood next to me and was staring at me, and I turned and looked at her and smiled, and she was like, ah!
There's two of them!
And she like ran, and she got shooed out of the shop. It was really cute. It was adorable.
Yeah, so that was a cool experience we had. Another really cool thing we had. Now, we ate a lot of interesting things in China. Mm-hmm. The most interesting thing we ate, and this is kind of hard to choose, but the most exotic, I think, was pit viper.
I think that sounds the scariest for Westerners, but I actually think the mantis shrimp was probably the more terrifying thing. Because as we learned about the mantis shrimp, thanks to the oatmeal cartoon, those I'm trying to watch my language. Those dudes are not scared to hurt things.
So we went to a seafood restaurant, which was incredible, that had all these tanks in a row where everything was still like alive and you could choose what you wanted.
And the waiters were dressed like pirates. It was
It was hilarious. And there were things in there that I didn't know what they were. We ate them, but I didn't know what they were. And one of them was the mantis shrimp. And it was like this, these things were like this long. They were scary as get all out. Like they looked like alien monster insect shrimp things.
It literally is probably what inspired the like Independence Day aliens.
Yeah,
Like,
they were like freaky. So I'm really glad that we didn't pick them up because apparently their strike with their mantis-y shrimpy arms is like the most powerful strike on the planet, and they could shatter glass and stuff. And
they
they're all,
can
like,
break
spiky.
Aquarium glass if they want to.
But they tasted really good.
They're delicious.
Yeah, so that was cool. The mantis
That's
shrimp was
probably
kind
the
of freaky.
best tasting thing on that table. The lobster was really good. We had a lobster that was like
It was like this big.
it was,
It was
like its claws were the size of our hands. It was like monstrous.
It was monstrous.
And our hostess was more comfortable with the mantis shrimp than the lobster, even though
Yeah.
the lobster's claws were, rubber banded shut like normal.
Yeah, she was like, oh, mantis
She
shrimp.
picked up the mantis shrimp, and those
They're-
their like thingies were like saws, and like everything had like spines and horns on them, and like they still like hurt even when you're trying to break the shell. And the only thing she could say, yeah, those shells are harder to break than normal prawns. It's like, oh really?
And that was true.
It was true.
But
they
what
were
was at
delicious.
this restaurant that we did not eat were water beetles and grubs. They were, I'll put this video up later. There was like a tray of these black beetles that
right
were like
next
this
to like
big,
the crabs.
crawling around, and I was like, oh my god. I think we'll skip those. But we did go to a restaurant. We're gonna call it a restaurant, but it was really like
A hole in the wall.
it was literally like a hole in the
box.
wall. It was a tiny, tiny box with about 3 very small tables in it.
Mm-hmm.
And this place was the only place in Shenzhen. There's another one in Hong Kong run by this lady's son that it serves snake to eat. Now, we might think, oh, well, that's not such a big deal because we eat rattlesnakes some places here. We serve rattlesnake in the U.S. So I wasn't really afraid of it. But our hosts were like, do you want to eat snake? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you're so brave. But they were pit vipers. So,
You asked to hold one, and she
they
asked
were
to
so
hold
cute.
one.
They had like little...
And the Cantonese woman like looked at her like she was completely crazy. She was like, "No, you're gonna hurt yourself.
I'll do
No."
anything for Instagram. No, so they would. I didn't realize they were pit vipers when I just thought they were just like friendly little garter snakes or something.
No.
They were
They're
pit
pit
vipers.
They're
So
very
yeah,
delicious.
but they were delicious. So we had, although we didn't eat the snake guts raw, so she offered them to us for our good health. We passed.
My digestive system is still like messed up from China.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't eat those.
But I had like fried rice with bits of snake in it.
I
It was
had a
just
soup.
like having chicken, and she had like a
A soup.
pit
With,
viper
like,
soup.
mushroom.
Yeah, but
And they
this
had that fun
this
jelly.
place was like a really authentic. I don't mean authentic Asian cuisine. I mean it was like not a place that Westerners go.
Because you can't even. I mean, the woman only spoke Cantonese. She didn't even speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
And so even our hostess
Couldn't understand everything
who
she
spoke
was saying.
Mandarin, like it was still a bit of a hard go to explain like who wanted what and like what was going on.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
And yeah,
That was pretty cool.
It was a new experience. Another one of those real experiences.
Yeah, so we had a great time in China. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
We ate a lot of weird shit. Our stomachs are like blah, 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 blah after a while because, I mean, I think the only thing we ate that was like familiar was yogurt
Yeah.
with honey. And we really needed it because the food was so different that, of course, it's not going to sit well with us
After a while.
after a while. So lots of baozi,
Yeah,
lots of
lots-
steamed
lot of
dim
dumplings.
sum, lots of shrimp,
Yeah.
lots of radish stuff,
So
lots of garlic.
oh my gosh, guys, the garlic there is crazy. It set our mouths on fire. It was
Yeah.
insane.
It's very different from here. It was
Yeah.
it's super hot, but it doesn't like stay
burn.
in your skin afterwards like Western garlic does. You eat it, you're like,
It's more like wasabi.
and then you're done.
like horseradish. So
it's
it's just
cool.
like everything gets flushed out.
Big old cloves of garlic.
Yeah.
So lots of really cool food, and we did spend most of our time eating.
Yeah.
That's good. Our hosts wanted to make sure that we were well fed. Sometimes to a fault, where it was like, "Are you hungry?" No. We just ate lunch. Would you like some more food? No, because we just ate lunch. How about we order 15 dishes? How about we order one? But you're going to be hungry. No, I'm not. Like, we had dinner like 2 hours ago. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Kimberly asked, did you eat any shabu? I don't know what that is. So no, but maybe. I don't know. We ate a lot of weird things. My chopstick technique got better. Hers got worse.
Like, my hand is starting to give out, and I was just like just dropping them all the time and like flinging things everywhere, and I couldn't grab anything anymore. And usually I'm pretty proficient in like the chopsticks maneuvering, and then like this muscle in my hand was like, nope, I'm done. Use your fingers, you Neanderthal. Like, I was like,
So it was quite the experience going to China. We saw a lot of really, really cool things. We did cool things. We saw like miniature buildings.
It's hot pot. We did not do hot pot when we did Sichuan food.
Too.
We had the option, but we went for plates instead.
Yeah, the idea of hot, because it's
really
very hot there still. It wasn't as hot as the first time I went, which was August 2 years ago. I felt like I was gonna die, but like Abby's kind of a cold-blooded person, but I'm super hot-blooded. So going places where I'm already really hot, where they say have some hot tea, have some hot soup for lunch.
Okay,
you need to drink hot tea for your health, and I'm like, I need ice water for my health before I vomit all over you. And they're like, but you have to drink hot tea. Ice! We don't have ice in the restaurant. What do you mean you don't have ice in the restaurant? We don't really do ice here. Ah!
So, moral of the story, the desert girl couldn't handle it, but the girl from the humid tropical climate of Virginia was fine.
Chong says, Shabu is a restaurant chain. No, we didn't go to any chains. We went
at least
to
not that we're aware of.
Some varying levels of restaurants. Some of them were just these Taiwanese noodle bars, just in the middle of who knows where.
Hojie.
And some of them were higher end restaurants. I don't know the names of them, unless Shabu is that seafood restaurant we went to. But I believe that was a new restaurant that opened. But
there's only 2 of those in China.
I'm not sure. So
yeah, she said there's only 2 of those in China.
Okay.
And I know one was in Shenzhen. I think maybe the other one might have been
Beijing, maybe
Beijing
or Hong Kong, perhaps. But so we had a great time. Again, earlier in this video, if you're just tuning in, earlier we talked about our factories. We are taking questions, but we're right about out of time. So if you have further questions later on in the day, go ahead and leave them in the comments. We will answer them with more comments. Yeah. And of course, you guys, we're always open to talking about how and why and where our shoes are made, sharing pictures, sharing videos, talking about it. So don't feel afraid to ask. We're very transparent about all of this, you know. Yeah. Mika says, the idea is that hot tea is supposed to bring your body temperature up to equal the environment so it doesn't feel hot anymore. It doesn't work for everyone, though it doesn't work for me. I don't want my body temperature higher because it's already too high and I feel like I'm going to pass out most of the time.
But for context, Lauren drinks iced chai in the winter.
I have a lot of heat in my body.
She does.
My humors are out of alignment or something.
For those who study Ayurvedic medicine, she's very pitta.
I'm very pitta. So I need cool things. And so I drink a lot of herbal, cold herbal tea infusion thingies.
Those herbal sodas were awesome.
Yeah,
they were so good.
Yeah, and a lot of coconut stuff. And lots of bottles of water. Anyway,
I drank all the tea.
She drank the tea for me. So we made a good team.
I was the tea person. I was like, sure, I'll drink more
we made a good team in China. So that was our trip. We're going to share some pictures and we'll blog about it later. And of course, you guys, again, with the questions. So we love you. Thank you for tuning in and listening to us go on and on.
Especially since we're like super jet lagged.
Yeah, like we're going to go home and go back to sleep.
Take a nap.
When we get... Yeah, we're done for the day.
Yeah.
Happy weekend, happy Friday. Yay! Love you guys. And we'll see you next week. Oh, one last note, since we were checking production samples on our new collection, our fall stuff for American Duchess. The pre-order opens October 3rd, and that's for everything. Okay, we've got Londoner Oxfords, new Edwardian Oxfords. We've got the new Fraser earlier 18th century leather shoes with latchets, so you can wear them with buckles. These are Outlander shoes. We've got Renoir Civil War button boots in black.
Beautiful leather for those.
Right, and then we've got a restock of Pompadour in white for you theater guys and gals. So, love you. October 3rd is when that opens. We'll let you know. Don't worry.
Is that the next live stream?
Maybe.
Maybe?
I don't know. I don't even know what day it is. Love you.
Bye.